Hi, my name is Stephen Mail, and this is my service learning proposal called Changing Hearts, Changing Minds, Changing Lives. What we're going to be focusing on today is going to be the issue of dealing with brain and behavior disorders for Americans. Our specific focus will be focusing on school children. So starting off here, we have a few statistics for you. Those being that 1 in 4 American adults suffer from a brain or behavior disorder, and 1 in 5 American children live with a debilitating mental illness as well. So what's significant about this is that while I'm sure we all know somebody who is affected with a disorder of some kind, there's not a whole lot that we're doing to go ahead and help with this, or at least there's not enough that we're doing. So, out of the 10 leading causes of disability identified and tracked in the United States for brain and behavior disorders, most common of those are major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and obsessive compulsive disorder. And these can all affect students in very negative ways. So, if you look at this mental health breakdown that we have here, you'll see that 18% of Americans will suffer from an anxiety disorder. 10% will suffer from depression, 4% from ADHD, 4% from PTSD, 3 from bipolar disorder, 1 from schizophrenia, and 1 from OCD. So when you look at them as individual statistics, it doesn't seem as though this is a very big issue. But when you take all of these statistics and really add them up, you can see that this is an issue that's affecting a lot of people each year. One of the main symptoms of the causes that we see here is a lot of these people end up not having the adequate support that they need, and so this leads them to having to go outside the bounds per se within our legal system. Here in Florida, you'll see in the Broward County Jail in 2007, 23% of the prisoners were taking psychotropic medications. Now, this is a very large number. It's unbelievable that it would get this bad. And this problem is not exclusive to Broward County either. There are prisoners all over the United States who are dealing with this issue, and jails simply do not have the adequate means and programs to be adequately supporting this. It's taking medication isn't simply enough, because that's only fighting half of the battle, which is the chemical disorder within the brain. There's an attitude which needs to be fixed there as well. We're kind of running in circles in that issue. So, many of these people, have been arrested, released, and been arrested again, over and over and over again. So, this indicates that this is a recurring problem, and that we're treating the symptoms and not the problem itself. So what we really need is we need to find ways to support these people with the conditions before they feel this need to act out due to the isolation that they feel and by being ostracized by their fellow man. There are a few difficulties here that they're facing, and that there's basically two kinds of stigmas. There's the public stigma, but then there's a more internalized self stigma as well, which really is kind of derived from the public stigma. The 3 major misconceptions that most people see with people with mental disorders are that they're either homicidal maniacs, and that this is a reason to fear them. It's untrue, but a lot of people get this idea from news stories that they see, which use really inflammatory language. So there's an issue there to be overcome. Also, we tend to view them as possibly childlike, and so we kind of marvel and idealize them, but really don't treat them with the kind of dignity that humans should be treated with. The last being that they're responsible for this condition due to weak character, and this is wrong as well. But people treating them in this way leads to a self-stigma, which is really where the problem lies, in that this causes low self-esteem from dealing with people treating them this way, and this prejudice, ultimately leads these people, and anybody, when they're facing prejudice, it leads you to feeling very angry, and this is a righteous anger in many cases, and ultimately them acting on this righteous anger is what leads to the incarceration. So the best way that we can go ahead and help with this is by providing a community-first action. We need to kind of walk a mile in their shoes, so to speak. To really learn what it's like to deal with it in this way, and that's what empathy is. So by engaging these individuals directly, we can come to understand what it is that they're really struggling with, and how we can best go about helping them with that. So having support lessens the risks of isolation. Empathizing gains a new perspective with them. And this is an initiative that I've labeled Changing Hearts, Changing Minds, and Changing Lives. So phase one is Changing Hearts. There's a program on there that you can use called Breaking the Silence, which is through the National Association of or National Alliance of Mental Illness. And there's a lesson package that they have that you can use there. And so after that, the first initiative is you're going to go ahead. The students, they can conduct an interview with a friend or a fellow student. And in that regard, they can go ahead and they conduct an interview that focuses on how they can go ahead and best deal with that, what that individual faces, and that allows them to gain a unique insight into their condition. So after the interview, they can answer a few questions about themselves. If you were to put yourself in the same position, how might you react to that? Phase two is Changing Minds. You're going to collect sponsorships. The student is to take the results of the interview and reflect upon them. They can take this new perspective and collect sponsorships from members of their community, whether that be members of their family, going about and going door to door, maybe possibly going to the store or out in a public area, and really sharing the experience that they've had, and collecting money, which all can be donated through the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And hopefully, at that point, we'll get to Changing Lives, which is phase three. And this is the March of Masks. Now, this is really more the most fun part for the students. Them and their interviewees are going to go ahead and they can make masks. The reason that they're making masks is because people with mental disorders, much like anybody else, can feel embarrassed about supposed shortcomings, and so we don't end up hiding behind a proverbial mask in that regard. So, in addition to making these masks that we can wear during this march, other signs can be made. The National Alliance of Mental Illness, through their Breaking the Silence programs, has posters that can be bought for $7.95 a piece. And those can be used in the walk as well as in being posted around the school. And this can be used to garner attention for the solidarity between students. So then they can walk a predetermined route. This is the fun part, and make a little bit of noise and show solidarity with their new friends. So by standing together, hopefully we can gain new perspectives on the issue. And we can all hopefully grow a little more and learn what it is we really need to support each other and walk a mile in each other's shoes.